Welcome back. I'm going to do this video in two parts, which is unusual for me. This will be the first time I've actually just done half the video, skipped a day, done another half. At least I think it is. But this is about doing some interesting and creative things with tidbit trays. And a lot of you have written into the comments of the videos letting me know that you are making your own tidbit trays now. And so I thought it would be really interesting, possibly valuable, if we took a look at offbeat, asymmetrical, oddball tidbit trays. So we'll get into it when we come back. Okay, what we've got here is a few pieces that are not going to be done as straight up plate tidbit trays. Now, you'll probably recall these pieces. We've got three of them that came from that wonderful box that Colleen Staver sent to me. It's a wonderful sort of mid-century shape, mid-century color. This looks much more blue on the monitor than it actually looks to me. Sort of in person, it seems more green. But nonetheless, very interesting pieces. We've got three. And what I am looking at, I've got these pieces marked. So, all right, here's our bottom piece. This piece is going to be drilled through the center. Whenever you're doing pieces, and this will have tray pieces a little off center on the top, it's usually best to start in the center and then stagger the pieces accordingly. That's not always the case, but with these sort of half-moon trays, I find it works best. So this piece has 8 little segments, if you think of it as segments of an orange. So I will be drilling right down the center of this little spine right here. Can you see? Right there. And it will be, the hole will be right about here. Then we will have our hardware support coming up. The next piece will be, this one I believe, will be coming over to this side. The following piece will be coming over to that side. I'm offsetting the two upper pieces by about 1.25 inches. Now, I wouldn't want to go much further. I wouldn't want to go more than 1.5 inches, but I don't think I would want to go less than 1 inch, because you want them offset enough so that, you know, it looks interesting, that sort of off-center and staggered look will strike you, but not so that it strikes you that the piece is going to fall over. So in this case, I have some marks, and they are, one is right here, that's about 1.25 inches over from that central spine, and the other one, again, is offset on the opposite side. When I start the drilling, this piece is going to be drilled from the back, because that's how I found my central point. The next two are going to be drilled down from the front. The reason for that is because I want to make sure I am in the middle of the little segment, and if I start drilling over here on the back, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of guesswork. So we're going to go in from the front on these. And that is something that I'm going to do later. And as I say, I'm going to come back to this. This is another piece that I'm going to do as an off-center piece. Now, this is a dresser tray. I have to be careful how I hold this because when you deal with lusterware, it just reflects back. So this little tray has a nice oval lozenge shape here, and I'm going to pop a little hole right in here somewhere. And I'm going to basically just choose where I think it will look best and then do my measuring to make sure that it's accurate and it's properly centered. Now, let me show you another piece so you can see. This is a similar piece. As you see, it's flat. Remember, this was a tray, so it's flat. It doesn't have that little rim around the bottom as plates do. Let me grab a plate so I can show you. See this little rim? And it raises the surface of the plate. That's why I have these little rubber feet on the bottom, because it has to be raised up so that this, which is our hardware, this is our screw, our washer, and our little rubber washer underneath it. We need to make sure that's not rocking on the table. So we've got these little feet, and I've already put little feet on the bottom of this. This piece was perfect for an off-center tray because, as you can see, the whole design is over here, and we had a lot of negative space here, so it worked out very well. This was part of a larger set. This was a little mustard pot. The little mustard pot had a broken lid, and in the end, this is what I was left with, these two pieces, and I thought this would make a really nice cosmetics tray. You know, little goodies in here and, you know, whatever here. And actually, it really works very well for that purpose. But the main reason I was doing this tray as an off-center piece was because the design virtually demanded it. It's an off-center design. And also, it was fun to experiment. I like the way this came out. So even though this piece could easily support a center piece, I think I want to do an off-center piece on this as well. I have not yet decided what the little top cup for this is going to be. I brought out a couple of pieces, maybe. All of these pieces are Japanese, by the way. This is Japanese. This is, and the other one I'm going to show you is, now this will pick up the white in the flowers, but I'm not sure the shape is right for something up here. I'm thinking about it. I think it would be okay, but it's absolutely not knocking my socks off. This piece is interesting. This is a sort of lavender, and it has gold designs on it. Nice little cup. And I thought maybe that, because I do like the way the lavender plays off the baby blue around the tray. So of the two, even though I grabbed them both, this one is striking me as the more likely candidate. But again, I'm not sure. And I don't necessarily need to know. What I need to do is put my hole in the plate, put my hardware, and then when I find the right piece to pop on top of it, pop it on. Now, one of the things I find aesthetically pleasing when I do a tidbit tray like this is keeping the tray the tray hardware on this, so that as you look at it, it's on your left. And that is because we are accustomed as a culture to look from right to left, or from left to right. That's how we read. We start at the left side, go to the right. I suppose if we were in Tel Aviv, I'd probably want it over here somewhere, but just culturally, left to right works best for us. So even though this particular piece demanded it, and this one does not, I think that's how I'm going to do this one anyway. It just looks a little better to me to have it over here than on the other side. So that's another piece I'm going to set aside. I'm going to drill, and then we'll come back and we'll put them together. While I was doing this, I wanted to show you this as well. Now, what do we have here? We have little owl salt and pepper shakers. And these are going to become finials. They're going to become a pair of finials. I removed the rubber stoppers, and when I unboxed these, I said that they had rubber stoppers. The rubber stoppers were just degraded. And that just happens to rubber over time. If you've ever seen old rubber bands, and they don't even have to be very old, you just snap them, they just come apart. I need to put, and actually I'm not going to show you the one I'm using. I'm going to show you a larger one because you will be able to see it better. It's a piece like this, only smaller, and this is a reducer. It's a reducer with a shoulder. That little rim is called a shoulder. And that will go in here, and that will, see, it's threaded on the outside. That doesn't matter to us for our purposes, but it's threaded on the inside. And that does matter because when we use the little threaded piece, and let me grab this. See, this is the little baby one. This is the one we're going to be using. The threading on the inside is the same size as a screw that will hold a finial on a lamp. It's also the same size as the screw on the top of the Tidbit tray hardware. So I can use these interchangeably. If I put the little reducer in the bottom, I can pop it on the top of a Tidbit tray or use it as a finial. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to open that hole up just a little bit. This piece fits almost, not quite. So it just needs, I just need to go in there with my my Dremel and just sort of carve out a little bit of that hole. This one I wanted to show you because this is different. This one, the hole was too big. And I've tried gluing in a plastic washer and popping my reducer in using the plastic washer to fill the larger hole, but I don't think it is working. It's a problem because this piece has a hole that's much larger than this one, and it's so big, in fact, that if I just pop that reducer in without the washer, it would just drop in and rattle around. But I don't think this is working. So what I may have to do is take this larger reducer, and these reducers are designed to fit one into the other. So the little reducer will fit into the big reducer, and if I open this hole up a little more, I can slide the big reducer in. So what's my problem with that? Why didn't I decide to do that in the first place? Well, here's why. The little reducer, just as the big reducer, has a shoulder, and that means this piece is going to sit on the lamp a teeny tiny bit higher than this one. And if the lamps are on the opposite side of the room, that's not going to be a big problem. But if there are two lamps sitting side by side, it might. I don't know. I mean, it depends upon how observant you are or how picky you are, because what we're looking at is about, and I'm going to guess and say that's about, oh, actually, I don't have to guess. Oh, look, I actually have something here. All right. This is roughly a 1/16 of an inch. And, when I say it out loud, I realize I was being exceptionally picky. A 1/16 of an inch difference in the height is probably not going to mean very much. And this really does not seem to be working. For some reason, that washer is just not laying in properly. So I think I'm going to just pop all that stuff out, take some alcohol, remove the glue, and just open that hole up enough so that I can, so that I can pop in this larger reducer and use it to hold the smaller one. And there we go. So for those of you who have not seen a photobomb kitty in a while, here he is. He just landed. Can you come over here, please? You are like you're right in front of the camera. You really are right in front of it. Yes, there you go. You just sleep there. Very good, baby. Yeah. All right, let me just move that out of the way so you don't knock that over with your tail. The tail is going right across the table, and it's hitting stuff. Okay, so I'm going to deal with all of that drilling. And when I come back, which, by the way, is going to be tomorrow, when I come back, I will show you what I have drilled out. We'll take a look at the new fix for this little shaker. And I'm also going to show you some of the new diamond drill bits I'm using, because when we last got together, I showed you Dremel bits that had little cone-shaped bits. And now I'm using sort of drum-shaped bits. They work the same way, but the drum-shaped bits are a little narrower, and they frankly do a much better job of carving holes out, which is what I'm going to need to do on this. So I'm going to leave now before Audie knocks everything off. Can you see that little tail just popping up every now? There you go. Before he knocks everything off the table, I'm going to go get this all cleaned up, get this stuff drilled, and I will absolutely get back and finish this in a little bit. All right. Nobody wants to see your kitty butt. There we go. There, let them see your pretty kitty face instead. Well, as you can see, I am back, and as you may have noticed from the safety glasses, I have been working. Go. All right, stay. I wanted to show you how we've made out on some of these. This is, and I'm going to have to adjust that slightly, this is our waterfall tidbit tray. And now that's the angle I'm holding. It's not crooked. I just can't seem to get it on an angle where it looks straight. I got a number of requests to do offset trays like this. This is not my personal taste, but I have to say, now that I've done it, I like it. It just has that sort of, waterfall down this side, down that side kind of look. And it's remarkably stable. That had been my concern, that it wouldn't be stable, that it would be tipping. No. And as I say, I can't hold it up so that it's straight and flat, but it does sit straight and flat. So what advice do I have about that? Well, first of all, don't go more than maybe this much. Remember, I went 1.5 inches away from the center point. If you're going to do something like that, keep it within a 2-inch span. And unless the plates are very, very light, I wouldn't even go 2 inches. I'd stick with 1.5 inches at max. And that's because you don't want the tidbit tray to fall over. This is pretty. I like the waterfall design because it's mid-century, a set of mid-century plates, and that goes well with it. It's, in other words, the theme and the style are matching. Would I do that with something older? Probably not. Got a lot of comments about this, so I thought I would show you this one. This was one of, or two of the plates that Colleen sent me with this beautiful, I don't know, it's spray of flowers. It looks kind of like lupins to me, but I could be mistaken. And a butterfly. Very, very pretty pieces. And because there were some mates in this, I decided to do a matching tray. Some people really, really like the matching trays. And then some people like the mismated trays. They like a more eclectic look. So on that subject, remember, this was our offset dresser tray. And I said, because of the design of this piece, and this is a beautiful Noritake piece. It really is. Well, a beautiful Noritake set, actually. Because the design of the piece was off-center, it made an off-center placement almost obligatory. If I were to have put a central piece in here, I think it would have looked funny. So this one demanded off-center. Let me show you the other one. And remember, this was also a dresser tray. And I decided to do this off-center simply because I've gotten so many requests for, different and unusual Tidbit tray styles and how to manage them. So that's this one. Remember, I said I have this little sort of pale lilac cup with gold on it. It's a beautiful Japanese lusterware piece, as is this in the soft blue. Yes, you can come over here, but don't jump on my back. You've done that before. Okay, excuse me, why don't you just come and sit with me instead of crawling on my back? Because I love you and I can't pet you when you're on my back, but I can pet you when you're in my lap. There, how's that? Audie is suffering from lockdown very badly. He is an extremely sociable cat, and he counts on getting attention from a wide variety of people. Well, when we're on lockdown, that's not happening. The only person he sees with any regularity is Jocelyn, and of course, he's like all over her. He gets into her lap and will not get out. It's just, he's just stuck. She can't move. I feel sorry for him, but this is just not a lockdown-friendly cat. Anyway, as I was saying about this, I think this worked out fairly well. I'm not sure this little teacup is going to stay here. Maybe if I find something better, but I have no problem with it. I like the way it looks. And it's, in my mind anyway, going to remain a dresser tray, just a dresser tray with a little twist. So overall, very pleased with the way this piece came out. And as I say, it could have gone either way. It could have gone right up through the center or here through the side. I didn't have to use the cup. I had considered using some other pieces, but this is what we have for now. I like it. I'm not unhappy with it. Now, remember the little owls. Here they are. And I said they were turning into finials, but I was having trouble with one of them. Here. You can see the holes are very different. One is much larger than the other. And one was always larger than the other. This hole had to be sort of drilled out a little so that our small reducer could fit in. I'm going to glue this in, and that reducer fits the finial screw on any standard lamp. So that's what's going to happen with this one. This one, which I had to drill out a little larger, is getting the larger reducer, And as I mentioned, the small reducer will screw in here. So this particular finial, just coincidentally, because this is how I chose to address the problem, is going to be able to sit on a modern lamp finial screw, or an old-fashioned larger lamp finial screw. And that's because it will be adaptable for both sizes. The solution I tried initially to deal with this, which was to glue in a plastic washer, was not working. It just wasn't working at all. I thought it was quite likely it wouldn't work, but before drilling into a piece, because once you start drilling, you can't take that back. A little bit of glue on a washer, no problem. You can pull that apart. But drilling, no. You take some of the porcelain off, it's never going back. So usually my theory is try the less invasive solution first. This one, afraid it didn't work, so we have another perfectly viable solution that will work. And I know it will work. I've done it with other finials. So the owls are, before the end of the day, actually probably within 20 minutes, are going to become finials. So that was what I wanted to show you. Asymmetric tidbit trays, which, as you can see, are really quite nice, and that's what I would consider this, or in this case, quite necessary. So one more little thing I want to address, and I'm going to have to pause here for a second because I have to go grab stuff, but I wanted to show you what I do on the bottoms of tidbit trays because I got a couple of questions about it. So hang on a second and I will be back with stuff. Okay, so someone asked me about the little feet things I stick on the bottom of tidbit trays. Now those pieces, let me show you some that are clear. These are clear plastic feet, and they're self-stick. As you can see, they've got some height to them. And I have them in clear round, black round, and this one, which is clear square. As you can see, those are quite a bit higher than some of the others. I will very often put feet on the bottoms of a tidbit tray if I feel it's needed for stabilization. Sometimes I'll just go with felt pads. What is the difference? Well, a felt pad is going to protect furniture better. The advantage to the little rubber pads is usually once you put them on, they'll do a pretty good job of staying on. And if the adhesive eventually fails and they have to be reapplied, just an ordinary adhesive, what do I have? E6000 will glue them back on. Or a little bit of double stick, Scotch tape will do it. So those tend to be more permanent. The felt pads do a better job of protecting, but if you wash your trays a lot, you will probably have to replace them. Now, I have little felt pads on the coaster that sits next to my computer that my coffee sits on. And that thing has to get washed because it's coaster and I'm just sloppy and I spill. So I know from my own experience that probably every third or fourth coaster washing, I'm going to need to replace these little pads. But I get them in packages of 20 or 30 at the Dollar Tree, and so it's like they're pennies. So I haven't worried too much about that. If people wash their Tidbit trays, the felt gets a little wet. It will dry out, but if the new owner doesn't like dealing with wet felt, dirt cheap at the dollar store. It's very easy to get new ones, and I wouldn't want to put that burden on someone if the replacement parts were expensive or hard to come by. But in this case, it's just, pennies at the dollar store. All right, so we've taken a look at off-centered Tidbit trays where they're offset and staggered. We've taken a look at offset where the design demands it. We've taken a look at offset just for the fun of it, just to throw a little more interest in a piece. And we have taken a look at problem solving for these little porcelain shakers, how to deal with a large opening on one, small opening on another. There will be a teeny tiny size difference in the height of these because of the new hardware, but it will be a 1/16 of an inch. So I don't think that's going to be a major issue, and I think a good solid stable connection for those reducers is easily going to be worth the 1/16 of an inch difference. So that's where we're at now. How about a little word origins and their romantic stories? I thought we would go back to the chapter of sports. So, bridge, first a man's game. Oh, it's a man's game. He'll like this part. The earlier name for this was Birridge. The game was enthusiastically taken up by the British in the lush 1880s. I have no idea why he considers them lush. Women were at first excluded, and it was as much of a man's game as poker. But the turn of the century changed that, and women's clubs became more common than men's. The story that cards were invented to amuse a feeble-minded king seems not to be quite accurate. It is true, however, that the first record of playing cards in Europe appears in the household accounts of Charles VI in 1392 or 1393. But since his mental illness didn't appear until 1393, it would seem doubtful that the game of cards could suddenly be invented for his sake. Little is known of their actual beginning, although some writers say that a Chinese, I'm going to say a Chinese person because I am uncomfortable with that, by the name of Sun Ho, who lived around 1220 AD, devised the game for the amusement of his concubines. In Egypt, cards were connected with religious ideas. At the least, we know that by 1483, Europe took to playing cards with such a passion that the first sermon was preached against them by Saint Bernardine of Siena in Bologna, Italy. His congregation was so stirred that they rushed home and made a bonfire of every pack that they had. Germany was an early center of card manufacturing. These cards had images of bells, hearts, leaves, and acorns, representing the nobility, the clergy, the landowner, and the laborers. The Spanish went in for swords, batons, cups, and money. That's rather like the tarot decks. Our own symbols came directly from the French, but the names are a mixture. The club is a translation of the Spanish basto, baton, but the figure is the French trefoil, that is three-leaved, really a clover. Spade is from the Spanish espada, or sword, which comes ultimately from the Greek spathe, which meant wooden sword. The French word carreau really means a pane of glass or a tile, but when they use it in cards, It identifies what we call a diamond. The heart is simply a conventional drawing of the human heart. In games, the word discard is often used. An earlier spelling of this term was decard, D-E-C-A-R-D, from D, away, and card, card, which first meant to reject a card from your hand. Now discard is used in other ways other than card playing. All right. That was a long entry, so we're going to just stick with one. And I guess if we're going to stick with one, cards is a good one. All right, let me know what you think about Tidbit trays and finials and whether or not you have ideas you would like to share, because I've got a boatload of plates, I've got a Dremel, and I'm ready to go to work. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day.